Will ChatGPT kill my startup? That is a question one of my investors emailed me over the weekend, and I want to dive into their email and discuss a little bit more about some of the questions they had around ChatGPT, AI, the new revolution we're having, and its relationship to my startup. Now, the reason I actually wanted to make a video on this is because I have a lot of thoughts to say on this, and it's easier than typing it out. But second of all, I think it would be actually really interesting for a lot of people to hear kind of my thoughts in relationship to my startup, what I'm doing, and how we're trying to build something meaningful, and the upcoming kind of AI revolution, or the current AI revolution that is currently taking place. So let me get some high-level overview thoughts, and then we'll get deeper into some very specific questions. Number one, I think AI is real, and I think ChatGPT and ChatGPT-like products that are leveraging OpenAI's API are meaningful, right? Like if you want to write an essay and there's a specific essay tool and it's training their models using OpenAI's open source models to then be able to help you build better essays, then that's something that people may pay $10 a month for. That's something that college kids might pay for. That's something that may help creatives and industry playwriters and people on Broadway do a better job at just coming up with ideas. I think the use case for AI, especially in this kind of virtual assistant, you type something, you get an answer immediately, is real. I also think the use case of AI infused in a ton of different companies that just use it to make business more effective, make email more effective, for example, searching through your email more effective. I think all of that makes a lot of sense. The problem is there is also going to be a lot of companies that leverage AI to really not do anything that special. And I think this is exactly what we saw in Web3 and crypto. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got a couple of startups that are using crypto in an interesting way, or at least using blockchain technologies in an interesting way. And then you've got thousands of startups that got funded and that ultimately became like a couple multi-billion-dollar companies just based on their coin valuation, just based on like the number of tokens that they had, that really did nothing, that honestly were scams, that basically charged people to like enter into their DAO and like really did it, like you know what I mean. So like there is a hype cycle that exists with Web3 and crypto that I think also exists with AI, and some companies are going to win in this AI race because they're going to produce meaningful products and solutions. Some companies are not, because they're not going to be doing anything special, and I think most people will eventually realize that, and those companies probably just won't be able to survive. So those are my high level thoughts on AI, ChatGPT, etc. Now, in terms of my startup versus those things, the one thing that I think is important to understand is my startup's in the creator economy. We're trying to get audio discovered. We're trying to create a centralized network, and it's essentially a search engine where people can find audio content in a more meaningful way. And the better way to describe it would be a recommendation engine, so that when you open the product, it recommends audio that you want to see and that you could be able to use. In the creator economy, AI will take place in a couple of ways. Number one, there's two real ways. Either AI will make the content that people will then consume, the videos, the podcasts, the articles, whatever. Or AI will help creators make content, meaning if you want to make a thumbnail, it'll make it easier for you to get your thumbnail out there. If you want to write an essay for a blog post, it'll make it easier for you to structure a blog post, et cetera, et cetera. I think where the world is going is more towards the second than the first. Can AI replace actual content creators and like legitimately create content? Sure. I think it's, no one cares that much about some robot. We care a lot more about individual people, our personalities. We're still at the end of the day human. So like we want to see other people. We want to hear from other people that are real. AI can assist in a lot of those conversations and make it easier and more productive and faster. But the idea that AI replaces that, to me, is just, it's probably not the case. In fact, I think AI is only going to exacerbate the level of creativity we have, which is also a bull case for my startup that I'll talk about in a second. So that means that if the second version plays out, where AI is helping content creators create content, if my startup is in the content creation space, to me, AI is a positive thing for my startup, because that means in order for people to create and then eventually distribute their content on my platform, the time to value, the ease of which they will be able to do that should be way quicker than it was before, because it's just easier to make content. It's easier to come up with ideas. It's easier to come up with thumbnails. All of those different things should help my startup as a startup that's centralizing content. Now, the key differentiator between my startup and what I think AI is doing in the creator world is that no matter how much content is created, the number one problem that will exist is discovery. The problem that currently exists today in content is that you make a bunch of content, you make a bunch of articles, you make a bunch of videos, make a bunch of podcasts. Let's say you make 100 of them. How do they get found? How do they get discovered? How do they get into someone's feed? How does someone actually just randomly scroll across your philosophy podcast? How does someone randomly find your deep dive on meta stock in article format? How does that happen? And this is the question that I've been, plagued with for the past 3 years. And I've come to the conclusion, well, it only happens in one way. someone is scrolling on a platform that has democratized the distributive nature of content being uploaded through anybody, meaning there's no gatekeepers towards the uploading process, no barrier to entry, which means now millions of people then decide to use that platform because they see it as an opportunity for distribution. If there's no barriers to entry, if you don't have to go through Hollywood or NBC, you can just say something, you can just put it on the platform. And as a result of then just boop, putting it on the platform, now that platform has a massive advantage from a data perspective. That platform has tons of proprietary data. That platform has tons of users, and that platform has a feed in which they can actually show your content to people that are interested, which means your feed and my feed look totally different. You're going to get totally different recommendations. I'm going to get totally different recommendations, whether it's an audio, video, article format, whatever it is, TikTok, short form videos. But people that are creating and distributing on the platform have a chance to access our attention. That is where I actually think the value is going to lie over the next 10 years if we're talking just about the creator economy. There's a lot of other startups that AI can be useful for, especially in the defense space, that have nothing to do with the creator economy. AI has a totally different operational use case. But if we're talking about the creator economy, the only thing that matters is when you create a piece of content, how does it get discovered? And again, this is a big problem. This is not a small problem. I have 16,000 subscribers on YouTube. It took me a year to get here. And for years, I started doing YouTube, honestly, back in 2009. I was doing like tech unboxing reviews. Like I was doing crazy stuff. I could not get discovered. And maybe you can blame it on consistency, hard work, whatever. Like those things are there. But for many years, I was posting lots and lots of videos. They just weren't finding an audience because I wasn't working with the algorithm. I wasn't making content that people actually wanted to see. And not only that people didn't want to see, because let's say you make a video and YouTube shows it to 1 million people, you're going to get some clicks on that, even if it's the most boring piece of content on the planet, because 1 million people had an impression and a chance to see it. But then I started optimizing to make content that I knew people wanted to potentially click on, like Palantir content. That's one of the main stocks I cover. People want to click on that, content. Content about Meta versus Google, and talking about SoFi. I mean, these are things that people are interested in. And when you realize there's a demand for the type of content you're making, then you can more accurately create that content and hopefully get distribution from it. But even then, only 16,000 people know I exist. So you look at some of the biggest finance YouTubers have millions of subscribers. So obviously I have not reached that audience, and I've not reached that audience not because I think I'm not good enough, but because YouTube just hasn't shown my videos to them. Now, maybe my videos haven't been made in a way to get YouTube to show them to that audience, but the biggest problem for why YouTube hasn't shown my videos to those millions of people that would be interested in Palantir or SoFi or Meta or Google stock or whatever is because YouTube gets 500 hours of video uploaded a minute. In fact, the statistic is 2 years old. I'm pretty sure it's more than 500 hours of video uploaded a minute. So this is the thing we've got to think about. If there's only 4 to 5 platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, that really exist for content distribution, the argument in the next 10 years when it comes to AI and content creators is not how does AI replace content, it's how does AI help creators make content, and as a result of that, what platforms are then distributing that content to get discovered. So to me, that is the bull case for my startup. There's a lot of reasons my startup could die. There's a lot of reasons my startup could fail. One of the reasons I do not think it's going to die is because ChatGPT or AI kills it, because I don't think there's anything to kill. It's just the platform for recommendations. That's like, can AI kill YouTube? It's like, no, YouTube uses AI to make their recommendations better, so more people who make content using AI powered tools to easily make videos can get an audience by posting it to YouTube. The thesis here is not the AI. The thesis here is, where is the AI helping the creator make the content, and where is that content going? And until AI makes a feed of random stuff that's fully recommendizable, if that's even a word, without it being attributed to a platform, a centralized platform, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc., then I don't think AI can kill any distribution platform. That's like saying AI could kill Twitter. No, Twitter can use AI to give you better recommendations for tweets, so you spend more time on it. If you spend more time on it, they have a better chance to show you more recommendations. That means more people will tweet, and then you'll find their content, all that stuff. But that doesn't kill Twitter. So if Aldea ends up taking off and it becomes one of the best audio recommendation platforms in the world, and we solve audio discovery at scale, then we would be leveraging AI within our internal algorithms. We are not doing that yet, but let's say we get to that point. That's not really AI killing the startup in that respect. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's all about, where does the content go to get discovered? And talk to any struggling content creator, talk to any big content creator. They know that if I make a piece of content and I don't figure out how to get it in front of people, meaning I have to use a platform that distributes it, even if you're hosting your videos independently. Like, your videos don't just pop up out of nowhere. You have to like make a Twitter account, make an Instagram. You have to have followers. You have to push people somewhere, or you have to buy ads. And if you're not buying ads, then you have to find a way to organically make the content. That is the thesis, I believe, that will run the creator economy in the next 10 years. And I think there's going to be more platforms outside of mine that are able to effectively distribute and centralize content and then ultimately recommend it at the end of the day. Now, a couple of other questions that they had, and I want to answer. They said, if everyday people are able to leverage OpenAI and other AI companies and business to do such a thing, does that make it in turn harder for you to sustain your business long term, due to having more competition built up that can try to replicate the Aldea platform and develop more on top of it with their own startup business? I think it's a good concern. It's not that big of a deal to me, primarily because you can replicate YouTube tomorrow. It's not that hard, right? You just build a website that looks like YouTube, and then boom, you replicated YouTube. How do you get people to upload their videos there? That is the issue, right? Like, anyone can replicate Aldea. Aldea is just an audio platform. Anyone can replicate TikTok. Anyone can replicate Instagram. It's just photos. What matters is, are you able to generate users and content? And then once you have those users and content, it creates network effects, which gives you proprietary data at scale, which allows you to have lock-in, which means you can watch videos in a lot of places, but most of us go to YouTube to watch videos because YouTube has created such a habit for us and such a algorithmic addiction in terms of us being able to find exactly what we want. The algorithm knows us better than we know ourselves. And as a result of that, we're able to consume content in a more simple way. So people can leverage OpenAI's API and build different stuff on top of anything. The question is, are you going to get a lot of people to use that thing? And that's where the moat really lies, not just the fact that you can replicate something. The other thing they said is that the more it sounds like that may cause internet platforms to face more competition from people using AI to build their own platforms of the same target, mission, and cause. Do you have any concerns over facing more competition down the road with audio discovery platforms over time, with people build their own platforms with the help of AI? Again, the biggest issue for me here is anyone can build their own platform. I mean, I built Aldea, right? Like, me and my co-founder, we built the platform. The question becomes, is that platform being used by massive amounts of people? And if it's being used by massive amounts of people, then why would they use a random new platform? So if someone makes an AI version of Aldea, none of it matters unless there's content there, which means you've got to convince lots of people to post their content. Now, you can do what podcast RSS feeds do, which just scrape open source content. So like, if you want to get Lex Friedman's content on your platform, then boom, you can have Lex Friedman's content tomorrow because it's a podcast open source RSS feed. And then you can use some AI on top of it. The problem is, that's what every podcast platform is already doing. That's actually the competitive differentiation that Aldea has, which is that we don't scrape RSS feeds. People have to actually upload their content into the platform, which then creates the proprietary data advantage for us to recommend the content in a more meaningful way. If you use RSS feeds, if you use the open source content that exists on the internet, there's nothing valuable to that content. And I've seen a lot of podcast platforms try to do this. They just take the content that exists. Oh, you want Gary Vee's podcast? Boom, you can get it. You want Lex Friedman's podcast? Boom, you can get it. And then it's just stuck on your platform and it's not doing anything. It's not a recommendation engine, because every podcast platform on the planet has these RSS feeds. The reason why Twitter and YouTube work is because you can't find those tweets anywhere else. You can't find these YouTube videos anywhere else. People are posting it there. Instagram works because those photos are posted there. TikTok works because those TikToks are posted there. Now, I know YouTube and Instagram have copied TikTok, but like, the reason TikTok is a thing is because people are posting videos there. So the only way, this kind of concern plays out is if someone builds an audio platform and gets a lot of people to post there. But that's not an AI concern. I mean, that's just a natural, that's just a competitive market where people want to build a platform. The reason I think no one has done that successfully is because everyone uses RSS feeds. And that's what I recognized 2 years ago. I was like, oh, well, what if you don't use RSS feeds? What if you just manually get people to upload content and then you centralize that and you create algorithms based off that, not based off RSS feeds? Because why would I listen to your podcast on this platform versus Spotify if the content's directly the same, right? And Spotify already has a massive brand and lock-in effect. Versus if I find a type of content on your platform that I don't get recommended on Spotify. It might exist on Spotify, but it's not going to pop up. It's not going to show up in my face, right? There are plenty of videos on Facebook Reels that also are similar to TikTok, but on TikTok, their algorithm pops it in my face. And as a result of popping it in my face, I have a chance to discover it. The only thing that matters over the next 10 years is discovery. And either Aldea works and we solve this issue, or we fail. I think there's tons of reasons why we could fail, and I've been honest about all the different reasons we could fail as a startup. But I don't think ChatGPT and AI is a central concern to me. because a lot of people are going to be building tools with ChatGPT and AI to help content creators. Very few of them are going to build organic, centralized networks that have network effects that now solve the problem of audio discovery, because you've got to do all the things I mentioned for the past 15 minutes in this video, which are not easy to do. AI tools will exist. They will help content creators. I do not think they will build an entire platform on their own. And by the way, all these platforms I talked about, they use AI. Like all of these platforms use AI, right? Now AI is just going to get better. YouTube's going to have better recommendations. Instagram's going to have better recommendations. AI is not the concern here. The concern here is, where does the content go to get discovered? And if the content can't get discovered, then the content's really useless, right? Let's say you make the best song on the planet. Best song ever. AI helped you, mixed it, mastered it. Everything's great. This is like the perfect. If a billion people heard this song, they would stream it 5 times a day. If you can't get that song to show up in front of people, that song doesn't matter. The AI that used to create that song doesn't matter. And if someone builds a platform in which you can distribute that song on their platform, because somehow their platform is like powered by AI, if that platform is not showing that song to people, it doesn't matter how much AI they incorporate into it. It doesn't matter. The song will not get discovered. And so to me, the bull case for Aldea is, well, if we could build the platform, and this is more of a marketing and user question more than it is even a tech question. If we could just build a platform where people are going to find and discover content, especially in audio format, and musicians get a hold of this platform, and musicians are like, holy crap, this thing's getting me way more discovered than Spotify. How many musicians immediately decide, I got to get on this thing. I got to start posting my content here. And then that creates the network effects of getting more musicians, and then it compose. And then you've got, Spotify thinking, well, why are musicians posting on Aldea? What is the difference between us and them? And then you start to realize Spotify has all these issues where they have to get paid by the record label, so they don't really promote new music. And it goes into a whole rabbit hole of different ways that content discovery on Aldea could happen in ways that it's not happening right now. And I think AI will help us. I don't think necessarily AI defeats us in that respect. So those are my thoughts. Thank you all for listening and watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I know that was a 17-minute long rant, so whoever watched it, I appreciate it. And yeah, let me know your thoughts on ChatGPT, AI, and its relationship to my startup. I'll see you guys in the next one.